I should not join with computer audio, right? On my laptop. When I get in there, okay. Morning, Debbie. Rosemary. I'm gonna put this over so I get a good view here. What's going on?
Morning, all.
Hi, Bill. Rosemary, can you hear me? All right. Morning, Eric.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Good.
Oh, I love all your pictures behind you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Are those your kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wonderful. Morning, Jen.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm here.
You're here. Right, right. Thank you for coming. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we'll introduce people and then they could tell us who they are. Huh? And do you think our speakers will probably be on Zoom, huh? Okay. Yeah, I think just when we change it around. What do you think? Do you think everybody's in? Okay. Okay. Good to go. Great. Okay. Good morning to everyone, both here in the room and on Zoom. I'm going to call to order the Regional Advisory Council of the Area Agency on Aging. We have our quorum, both online and in the room. And let's go through introductions. I'm Bea Babbitt, the chair. We'll go around the room first.
Oh, there. Good morning, everyone. I'm Joe Ruth, Colorado Springs, and in person, would you believe?
Good morning, I'm Maria. I'm from the Independent Center, Maria Cordova with the Independent Center, and in person today.
Wonderful. And we have two others in the room.
I am Laura Cruz. I am the mobility coordinator in the pink jacket in the little square.
Thank you, Laura. And Melissa?
And Melissa, I work for the RAC, for the PPACG, and I'm behind the computer, so you can't really see me.
Okay, thank you. And I'll go through the other people. I'll go through to our members first. Debbie, want to turn on your microphone and say hi? Oh, we can't hear Debbie. It says hers. We'll have to figure out what's going on, Debbie. I can see that you unmuted, but it's still not coming through. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Debbie. Rosemary?
Hi, Rosemary Hadamiya. I am on the RAD committee and I also work for the Alzheimer's Association.
Morning, Rosemary. Eric?
Good morning, everyone. Eric Bidwell. I work with El Paso County Department of Human Services, and I'm one of the RAC members.
Jan?
Good morning, Jen Nemo with Colorado Community Health Alliance, the Medicaid Ray for El Paso Park and Teller County, and one of the RAC members.
Bill?
Bill Bowles from up here at 9,000 feet, looking out over Pikes Peak.
Good morning, Bill. It's always exciting. We never know what's going to happen up there. Okay, and we have quite a few guests. Let me go through you. One, Janine? Okay, I'm not. Oh, well, okay, we'll see. She doesn't have her camera on. Carmen?
Hi, my name is Carmen Brandenstein, and I heard about your committee yesterday from one of the counselors at the caregiver session, and I wanted to see what it was about.
Oh, wonderful. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Melody?
Good morning. I'm Melody. I'm with the Pikes Peak AAA and the Program Services and Contract Administrator.
Jolene?
Hi, I'm Jolene Houseman, Executive Director of Fountain Valley Senior Center and one of the presenters today.
Great. Looking forward to your presentation. Diana?
Good morning, Diana Van Auken, Teller Senior Coalition, and I'm representing Kathy Lowry today, who is out of town.
Thank you. Lauren?
Good morning, I'm Lauren McCoy. I'm with the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management.
Welcome. Jason?
Good morning, everybody. Jason DeBueno with Silver Key. I'm not sure my camera's not working, but it's good to see everybody.
Okay, you can see us. We can't see you. All
Talking
right.
in the dark.
Great. I broke consistent with the way it works. I broke the camera.
Right. Hey, sometimes I've turned it off because of what? I'm in my pajamas or something. Okay, well, welcome everyone to our rec meeting. Did I miss anyone? Yes. Mhm. Okay, so first we have our consent items. We have our agenda. We want to make a small change because of other meetings going on for some of our staff. I would like to move the chair's report up after public comments. So that would be a change in the agenda. And then we have our minutes. So are there any additions or corrections to our minutes? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve our agenda and minutes?
Bill Bowles, I move we approve.
I'll second Eric Bidwell.
Bill Bowles has a move to approve. Eric has a move to second. All in favor, raise your hand. I can see everybody today, so. Thank you. Opposed, raise your hand. Seeing none, the motion is approved. Public comments, Melissa, are there any today? No public comments came in. All right. So then we're going to move directly to our rec chair report. And Laura, are you going to start that for us?
Actually, Melody's going to kick it off. I have an 11 o'clock meeting. She has a 10:30 meeting. So we're just managing this morning. So,
all right, very good.
Melody, go ahead.
Hey everyone, I wanted to report out on the request for proposals and the applications that have come in. So our TRS committee has been hard at work going through the applications. They've reviewed the transportation ones and are now reviewing the rest of our programming. So I wanted to give you all some numbers. Our current 17 providers have all applied again, with the exception of one, Peak Vista Audiology. They've decided not to continue their programming. So not just that they were declining to apply for AAA funds, but they're actually closing that program. So we have another one that has applied to take their place, in addition to 2 other new ones. So that's Rocky Mountain Healthcare Services, or Rocky Mountain PACE. So they're applying for the audiology program, and then also for another technology program. We also have Health Promotion Partners. They're applying for to do education around dementia with families and caregivers, and then also doing education and screening for driving services. So for older adults that may need some help with seeing where their capacity is at with driving, and then also offering resources for them and their families. And then finally, our third new applicant is Mount Evans Hospice, which provides podiatry care. They're currently offering services in Park County, but are not being funded through the AAA. So we've been in discussions with them and encouraged them to apply. So we were really excited to see that they applied for that, since they're already set up and have the programming out in Park County. So the TRS is working through the applications, reading through the narrative, because we asked our applicants this year to answer some narrative questions around their financial management, their experiencing with managing federal and state grants, what their staffing looks like, their targeting. So really seeing, even with our longtime contracted providers, to see, hey, is there any update with what you're doing? What does this look like around COVID? Have you made any changes? So really just getting some detailed information from them. And I think that'll be really helpful too for our newer RAC members, or maybe those who haven't seen that information before. So as the TRS is evaluating the applications this year, we're using evaluation criteria. So we have weighted scores with percentages around financial need, service justification, coordination and effectiveness, alignment with our COG strategic plan, the AAA 4-year plan, and then a coordinated human service plan. We're also looking at their budget review and financial management capacity, making sure that our applicants have the systems in place that they need to be successful with tracking their grant funds, and then also being able to track like their staffing, their volunteers, making sure they have in-kind local match tracking, all of that stuff in place. And then finally, looking at their past performance, managing AAA grants, and then also CDOT grants, now that we're trying to make this process more streamlined for our transportation providers to apply for AAA grants and 5310 grants at the same time. Any questions?
Melody, do you know what our projected funding is probably going to be this year?
Yeah, so we heard from the state, and we haven't gotten final numbers yet, but we heard that it's going to stay relatively flat to this year. So we're not expecting an increase or any significant decrease either. So we do have, as Jody has been talking about, those one-time funds for infrastructure and capital needs, those kinds of things. So we're trying to encourage our providers to apply for those funds for the bigger projects, and then really focus on our AAA funds, which are going to remain flat, with focusing on the current program provision.
Okay, other questions from members?
Okay, thank you all. And if you do think of anything, please feel free to reach out to me.
Okay, well,
Okay,
thank you. Thank you, Melody. And now, Laura, are you next?
I guess I am next. So I just wanted to give you guys an update. We've already had a TRS meeting to tackle the 5310 and small amount of funds that we get through the city that's PPRTA money. And
you're talking transportation.
Transportation. Right? I'm gonna get, yes. So I am the transportation person. So every time I speak, it's usually going to be about transportation. But yeah, so we're very thankful for the TRS to come together for a special meeting to really look at transportation as a whole. This is the first time that we've been able to do a joint call for transportation for AAA funds, as well as the 5310 and PPRTA funding. The reason why we really wanted to pull this off this year, the joint call, is to ensure that we're looking at the transportation funds holistically, and so that we can make for sure that we're placing the right funds or the right flavor of funds with the best agency in their program. And so this year we had 3 applicants for the 5310 funding. We, again, kind of thinking through that process, capacity of handling federal funds and those types of things. We have, the TRS has made the recommendation to the TAC to award funds to 2 agencies out of those 3. And that decision, again, is going into factor into the decision-making with the AAA funding moving forward when the TRS meets for the big package of AAA funding. And so just making for sure that the right funding flavor matches the right program and the capacity of the organization. So I really appreciate the TRS and their time that they took. This was kind of a new process for them, and they took the time to really assess those applications. So to give you a good idea, sort of what happens with the 5310 recommendations moving forward. So we have 5310 funding and the small PPRTA funding, and it's different than AAA funding in the process of getting approved by the board in distribution. So those recommendations from the TRS went to the Transportation Advisory Committee of PPACG. The reason why it doesn't go through the RAC for recommendation like the AAA funds and then to the board for final approval is because FTA requires us to send these funds through a different path. And federal transit funds and FHWA, so federal highway funds, trickle through the TAC and are programmed on something, this is getting a little bit in the weeds, programmed at the federal and state level at the TIP, so Transportation Improvement Program. So this funding recommendation has gone to the TAC. The TAC is approved approved and is recommending the same recommendations to the CAC this next week. And then the CAC will actually send it to the board for a 30-day public comment period. And then the board will make the final decision in May. So a lot of steps, extra steps in the 5310 funding and being able to get it final approval for this. As part of the reason why the AAA RFP process started so early this year, is just really to give us more time to get through all the steps and make for sure that we're contracting on time with providers. So any questions regarding that?
Laura, I'm just for clarification for those who haven't been involved in the process, what type of services do these dollars support?
That's a great question. So 5310 funding is, and also the PPRTA funding that we get through the city, it's a little different than AAA funding. So 5310 funding is money for enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities. So that second half of that description is the difference between AAA funding and 5310 funding, because this funding is to be used for both seniors and those that are individuals with disabilities. And so that means people who are 60 and below. So again, going back to that flavor of funding is kind of making for sure that we're placing the funding within the organizations that that kind of impact both of those populations that we're trying to serve through that program.
And just to go, we use so many acronyms. I always tell people I came out of special ed where we had all our acronyms, and then I had to learn a whole new set when I came to seniors. So anyway, just to go through those once again for some of our newer people and our guests, the TRS is our technical review subcommittee for the RAC. And they are a group of our members that meet to go over all the proposals for funding out of the AAA. So that's the first one, TRS. Then you talked about this flow of through committees. So it goes from our TRS to the, what was the next one, Laura?
Transportation Advisory Committee, the TAC.
The TAC, okay. And then it goes to the
CAC, which
What's
is
the
the
CAC?
Community Advisory Committee.
Okay, and then that all goes to
the board,
the PPACG, which is
Yes.
Pikes Peak Area Council of Government
Mhm.
Sport. Okay,
Yes.
just a little lesson on all our acronyms.
Yeah.
Other questions others people might have? Or comments on the process? Some of you were involved in the process. Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it. And then I think Melissa has something for us.
All right. So this is Melissa, and I'm going to round out the end of the Jody's report by sharing some really good news about some funding that came through. So, gosh, it's been quite a while. It's been since 2021. Our state legislature passed some legislation to infuse the Area Agency on Aging world with about $14 million at the state level. And so for the last year, the State Unit on Aging and the AAA directors have been working on how to spend that money and what were they going to do with it. And eventually they landed on this idea of allowing a grant process to happen across the area agencies on aging. And so it wasn't open to, kind of the general public. It was open specifically for AAAs to look at ways that they might use that funding in a more community enhanced process. And the dollars needed to be for, kind of a one-time shot. So it isn't something that could pay for ongoing, program or, ongoing needs. It had to be a one-time shot. So $14 million, what do you do with that? And so over the course of time, the AAAs submitted 116 grant requests to the state, and our AAA submitted one on behalf of wanting to infuse the upstart of the Pikes Peak Elder Justice Center. And some of you know about the Pikes Peak Elder Justice Center. I'll do a real brief kind of sharing of what that entity is. Basically, the Elder Justice Center is the offshoot of the Pikes Peak Elder Abuse Coalition, which was started about 17 years ago by Colorado Springs Police Department, Silver Key, a couple of other entities that sat around the table and said, we want to have a collaboration of organizations that meet to talk about how to combat elder abuse and neglect. And over the years, the Elder Abuse Coalition has said off and on that they need a nonprofit entity to help them grow and do more. More meaning we would like to have an elder shelter program. More meaning we would like to have a forensic team, which is a group of geriatric professionals who are actually investigating abuse and neglect and bringing more documentation forward in the hopes of having some prosecutions happen through our district attorney's office. More work around guardianship. And so the AAA submitted a grant for that program to help infuse it with some funding to get it off the ground. And our grant was approved. And that grant was approved at $213,000, which is amazing. And the other good news is that we don't have to have it spent by December of 2022. We actually will be able to have the extension of a full year to have that money go out to get the Elder Justice Center up and running. And so that's super exciting. Out of 116 applications that we got approved as one of them. That funding, they did allocate over $10 million so far, but they are looking at a round 2. And apparently there are a couple of proposals that other AAAs put in that were really close to kind of meeting the criteria. And so Jody believes that those AAAs are probably going to rewrite their grant proposals and submit them again. So our agency will, of course, not do another one, but we are really excited to have this resource get launched in our community. The folks that have been talking about the Pikes Peak Elder Justice Center have been doing that for a couple of years. And to have that entity be able to support the Pikes Peak Elder Abuse Coalition and all the work they do is really impactful and meaningful. And one of the next exciting things that'll happen out of the Pikes Peak Elder Abuse Coalition and Elder Justice Center is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And so they'll be celebrating and honoring and doing all kinds of things on that day. It'll be June 17th at the East Library. And so stay tuned for more information on that. And just really excited that our state legislature actually, carved out all of this money to help make an impact for older adults. The Elder Justice Center does a lot around behavioral health work, so it'll be yet another resource for behavioral health, kind of supports in our region, not just in El Paso County. It's Pikes Peak, so it's El Paso Park and Teller County. And honestly, the Elder Justice Center has their sights set on expanding to build this model out in other parts around the state as well. So anyway, it's very exciting, and we're glad that the funding has come through. And so wanted to share that with everybody today. I don't know if anybody has any questions, or folks who have had connections with the Elder Abuse Coalition have any comments that they want to share.
Any questions or comments? Go ahead.
Will the Pikes Peak Elder Justice Center have a physical location and satellite locations?
So we will only have one physical location at this point, and it already has a location because we have received a couple of other grants before this one has come through. And so it's located at 10 East Monument Street. And so Dr. Sherry Gibson and Dr. Sarah Qualls opened up private practices in that location. And they are renting out one of the office spaces to the Elder Justice Center out of that office. So housed over there.
Other questions or comments?
All right. All right, that closes out the director report. So,
Well, thank you very much.
right.
Jody had very good substitutes today.
and maybe to share where Jody is.
Right.
Yeah. So Jody is actually in Washington, DC right now. He is there with the the Association for Aging. And they have their legislative action week going on. So he is in Washington, DC, actually meeting, with all kinds of folks talking about legislation, talking about policy and advocacy. And he's actually working and hoping to have an opportunity to meet with our national elected officials. So he's been working on that for about a week, but when he left, he hadn't had any confirmation yet, but he had his fingers crossed. So just good to have the state of Colorado represented there this week.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Quite an update today. We don't have any action items for today, so we're going to move on to our speakers. We have the Fountain Valley Senior Center, Jolene Houseman, Executive Director. Looking forward to your presentation. So,
Thank you. Is the Y also presenting today?
Jolene, their presenter is not feeling so good today, so she had to step out. So we are very disappointed, but we're super happy to have you. So yeah, it's all you.
Okay,
So you
I just want to watch the time.
On.
Because
No,
for
just
those
kidding.
of you that know me, I talk a lot. So
I know.
that may be a good thing. If I could get you to share your screen with me, because I
Yep,
did make a
you are good.
PowerPoint.
You can share.
Fantastic. And I do want to let you guys know I'm working from home today because I don't only live senior centers at work, but I currently have both my mother and my grandmother living with me. We're waiting for my grandma to have a nursing home placement, and she's on Medicare and Medicaid, and we all know that lovely journey. So we're about 3 months into trying to get her placement. And she wasn't in a good place at my aunt's with just some self-neglect issues. So we moved her in here. So I spend all day with seniors and then I come home to 2 seniors. So I really do eat, live, and breathe what I do. So if you hear her or my dog, that's I just have a house full right now. But I am the executive director of the Fountain Valley Senior Center. I've been there now 3.5 years. We are a fairly small organization budget-wise, but we do way beyond our budget for the community. And our mission is to provide services to adults, older adults, which enhance dignity, support independence, and encourage involvement in the community. The areas that the PPACG AAA fund are assisted transportation, which means you need a mobility device or assistance getting on and off our transportation, regular transportation, home delivered meals, nutrition education, and calls of assurance. What the AAA doesn't provide for us, but does provide through Silver Key is funding for our congregate meal site. Pre-COVID, we averaged 75 meals daily. Right now, we're sitting at about 40 meals, except on Thursdays, we do 75 or more. That's our bingo day, so that's our busiest day. In May, we will start hosting bingo on Tuesdays and Thursdays to encourage more getting out of the house. As far as activities go, we have bingo, They play a multitude of card games daily. We have wood carving, a porcelain class. We have a full kiln and everything, painting, and Wii bowling. We have a lot of health and fitness activities. We have like chair yoga, Zumba, and Tai Chi. Our travel club has taken off. We go to concerts, museums, teas. They're even investigating a trip to Branson this summer. And we make sure our travel club covers the gamut so that there are completely free field trips, as well as like Branson would cost thousands. So we do ensure that seniors of all income levels have the availability and choice to do things outside the senior center as well. And then we have a lot of community resources that host their services in our building, such as human services, legal aid, and Rosemary on the call hosts a Alzheimer's support group at our facility. This year, we only reopened in June, and we already have 2 new programs up and running. We have cardio drumming, and we just started tap dance. And sorry for the blurry picture, but that's a screenshot from a video that oops.
We're not seeing your screen.
Oh, you know, let me see how I could do that then. I am so sorry. Can you see it now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, so here are the pictures, but I have a very short video clip of the tap dancing class, which you could do sitting or standing. So that just started on Tuesday. That was the very first one. And they really enjoyed it. And then my proudest moment since reopening is our Mardi Gras celebration that we had on March 5th. Since reopening, the most people we've had in the building at one time was 75. And on this day, we had 100 guests, and it's a total of 130 when you include the band and staff. So they had an absolutely amazing time. And Mark Bowers, my program director, even cooked all the food himself for this event. And then 2 years ago, on St. Patrick's Day is when we had to close due to COVID. So this year on St. Patrick's Day, we went all out. And that cute little leprechaun is my programs director. And he definitely got in the spirit. So we had a full house for St. Patrick's Day. Now with COVID and senior centers, COVID has definitely highlighted ageism in America. So what happened is COVID came, people ages 60 and older were deemed more at risk, and everybody wanted to tell seniors what to do, but nobody asked the seniors what they wanted to do. If they were the most at risk, where was their voice? So when we reopened, we sent a survey to all of our members of what restrictions they wanted in place under reopening guidelines. And with overwhelming response, we had 97% of our population is vaccinated, and they wanted any non-vaccinated people in the building to wear a mask. And so that was how we reopened, is what they wanted, not what I wanted or my board wanted, which were kind of opposing views. So it was nice that the seniors had their voice heard. And I honestly think if we resent out that survey today, the survey would actually be stricter, and they wouldn't want anyone in the building without vaccines. We are still losing seniors to COVID within our building. We just lost 2 in January. So it is still affecting our population, and we want to be as safe as possible. And so we have a daily sign-in sheet so that if anybody does have a breakout or is tested positive, we actually call every individual and we offer transportation and testing appointments to ensure safety and security from COVID. With the restrictions in place, because we're the only senior center in the community with these restrictions, we're actually seeing more seniors coming down from the north side of Colorado Springs and out east, because they know that they can walk in the building and if they see someone without a mask on, they're comforted in knowing that that person is vaccinated and they're not putting their health in jeopardy. So we will probably keep these restrictions on the wants of the seniors. So I know COVID's become political in America, but COVID in our building is a public health crisis for seniors, and that's how we view it and leave politics outside of our building. We don't care about politics. Yeah, thank you, Debbie. It's not the time or place. The whole world is full of politics. We just want to be full of fun and being alive as long as people choose to be. So we were closed. When we were closed, we did do the drive-through meals, and we got national news for our parking lot bingo that we played. That was a huge draw, and we had concerts in the parking lot. Speaking of politics, when you want to do parking lot bingo, you know, we have a gambling license, so there are a lot of hoops you have to jump through in order to do parking lot bingo. We learned a lot about gambling in Colorado, and we're talking $5 entry fees to win a prize of $10. You would have thought we were playing bingo for 10 million with the red tape, but now we're back inside. But the good thing is we can quickly readjust if necessary. So the good thing we learned is that we're very nimble, and we will still ensure the seniors have recreational and socialization activities, even if they can't come in the building. Our non-COVID challenges for the senior center is always space. For those of you, we usually host a RAC meeting every year, so we're more than happy to do that again this year. You know, you just have to wear a mask if you're not vaccinated. And but we're outgrowing our space. We're kind of like the best hidden secret. We have over 850 members at our senior center. And this year we started just recently extending our transportation and home delivered meals program to Midway. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Midway, it's in El Paso County, but it's 1 mile north of the Pueblo County border. So they qualify for 0 Pueblo County services. And then it's in the middle of nowhere. It's like the windiest place in Colorado. You feel like you're in Wyoming. There's a lot of seniors who don't drive living with their children out there. And then their children work all the way in Colorado Springs or Pueblo, and they're just left home alone all day, bored out of their minds. So right now we're doing transportation 2 times a week, and we are going to be sending postcards out because we would like to increase that to 5 days a week to ensure that they have stimulation and not just left home with like Judge Judy all day. And the one bad thing about Midway is it's all dirt roads. And so it takes a toll on the vehicles. But then if they're not capable of coming in and they're homebound, we do want to ensure they have proper nutrition. So we're doing both of those. Our parking lot, since we've become the place to be, is always full and it's small. So on big events or busy days, our local Catholic church lets us park cars there, and we run a shuttle to the senior center. So just because somebody can't find a parking spot, we will find a way to get them in the building. The more, the merrier. And then we are going to do more strategic outreach to boomers, especially the younger boomers. Because as people hit 60 and 65 now, they're not stopping working. Like my mom is 62 and she still works full time. So we would like to expand services to nighttime and weekend hours because I feel like younger seniors, I call them my babies. My babies, if they can come in during nights and weekends, then they start feeling comfortable at the senior center. So when they do retire or need additional services, that's available to them, and they already have a public place that they feel comfortable coming to. And then funding's always a challenge for all nonprofits. And so we're just trying to grow our funding through different diversified sources so that it's not so heavy on transportation only funding, because that is the bulk of our services. With our transportation, we average 150,000 passenger miles a year. So and we're very rural compared to the metro service providers. So like say a trip to Midway, that's 40 to 50 miles round trip. And then the HSPs only get paid when there's an actual senior on board. So half that trip's not even funded. And so we are just looking at more funding sources. The first year of COVID, people were throwing money at you faster than you could spend. And now we're waiting to see how the funding will fall out post-COVID. But the senior center is a load of fun. And for those of you that do have Facebook, I highly encourage you to join our Facebook. We post daily now of what meals will be and it's Fountain Valley Senior Center with our logo. But we post daily what the meals and activities will be every day so that people can have a daily reminder. Today's bingo, so it's the busiest day. And then we're also having a birthday social. And then there's just tons of pictures of all of our activities. And on weekends, like fun facts, like this past weekend was National Quilting Day. And we do have a quilting group that meets every week. I wasn't going to show you all of this because I was trying to be cognizant of time when I was going to have to share. But I just want to go back to Mardi Gras. Like, think back 2 years ago when we were all stuck in our house, and 2 years post-COVID, I never thought I'd get to see 100 seniors dancing and having fun with their friends in a public space again. And they just had an absolute blast. And we had 150 people in the building and not one case of COVID from that activity. So I think it's just amazing that they can have fun and enjoy themselves. Like these pictures will make me cry because I'm just so excited they're back and they're having fun. But do you guys have any questions for me about our senior center?
Debbie? We're still having microphone problems.
Maybe if you could type your question in the chat, Debbie.
Good idea.
So I will let you know, the other thing about our senior center is one thing I've noticed working with seniors throughout my career is people tend to infantilize seniors when they come in the building, like, oh, Marge, how are you doing today? And we don't do any of that. We're fun, sometimes a little inappropriate, and we just have a hoot. So like, there's no babying seniors. Like, all of my seniors have better life experiences than me, better stories than me. And we should be proud of those, not hide those. And so we have a ton of fun. And also, since I've taken over, anytime I've rehired someone now, with the exception of me, every single staff member is over the age of 55. And we have like 3 that are over the age of 70. So I make a cognizant effort to hire seniors because there is such discrimination in the employment realm these days. And what better person to work at a senior center than your peers? So I do try and employ as many seniors as possible as well.
Any other comments or questions? Maria?
Hi, I have a couple of questions. The first one is, did you say we could stop by for like a meet and greet or a tour, or should we contact you to set something like that up? I work
Yeah.
with the Independent Center.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also have a lot of groups of the DD population, like under 60 as well, that come in and use our facilities because there's not a lot of places groups can go just for social interaction. And my group of seniors is very welcoming to all abilities. So just give me a call and I'll put my work number and email address in the chat. But yeah, definitely come down and we can do a tour and maybe talk about some partner programming and stuff.
Yeah, that would be great. And then do you also help people navigate Medicaid and Medicare?
No, so that I would refer to either the Ombudsman program or to Silver Key.
Awesome.
So this is Melissa. I'll jump in on that.
Thank
because
you.
I actually have a segue with Medicare and Medicaid to talk with Jolene about too a little bit. So the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging, we house the state health insurance program here. So we actually have those state trained Medicare counselors in our offices to do that work. And so they do that Medicare as well as overlap with Medicaid counseling and support. And when you really know that we do that is during open enrollment time.
Yes.
So there's a lot that goes on here during open enrollment. But that all said, one of the things I was going to ask Jolene, and Mark may know more about it than you do, but I'll throw it out there. We are doing Medicare lunch and learns and Medicare workshops with the Security Fountain Library. And also we are doing partnering with the Fountain Valley Senior Center to do a watch party. And so, you know, encouraging people to go to the Fountain Valley Senior Center during the time that we're doing the Medicare Lunch and Learns. And I forget which one, I think it might be April 20th, but I forget which date it is that we're trying to coordinate that watch party with the Fountain Valley Senior Center. But as Mark had mentioned, he said, you know, the seniors that go to the Fountain Valley Senior Center would like to have everything in person.
Yes.
And so it's great that they can hopefully gather together, but yet it'll still be kind of a video webinar presentation with Roma, our staff person here, doing it via a webinar. So hopefully it'll go really well. But I don't know, Jolene, if you had any comments or if you know much of what Mark is doing with that.
I know we were going to host the webinars that were in the evening, but nobody wanted to come to the senior center in the evening. So I think the turnout for the lunch one will be much better. But Mark is absolutely right. My seniors love seeing people in person. Like they want to touch, feel, and smell you. I don't have a lot of technology savvy seniors, which is ironic because we're in Colorado Springs and it's like a tech hub, but my seniors prefer in person. And so we can definitely do the watch party, and we're really good at bribery. So we'll probably have snacks available because if you provide food, they will come. And during COVID, what we spent our bingo money on is we have a fantastic popcorn machine. And now we actually have an ice cream machine. So we have ice cream every Friday. Look, we know how to get you there. And that's why Tuesdays is our slowest day. And that's why we're going to be adding another bingo day, because really, bingo gets people out, and what we want is people out and socializing. Like that's where we want seniors, not at home. So we will bribe and cajole everyone out of their houses in any way that we can.
Are there any other questions or comments for Jolene?
Hi, Jolene. This is Maria again. I had just another comment for you. I do outreach for the Independent Center and I visit rural communities. So if you have any clients that are needing help and somebody to visit them. That's my job. I am currently the only outreach specialist. We're hiring for another one. So I am available, but right now is a little bit slammed, but let me know if anyone out there needs help.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Wonderful.
And again, if you guys want to come down for a RAC meeting this year, we'd love to host you and just let us know. Like the seniors, we'll feed you too, so that you can just see what we do.
I really miss all those meetings where we went out to the community. So I'm hoping we can initiate those again. And I see some heads shaking. We learn so much just by coming to your center, and we know that, you know, by going there, we know everything you're telling us. Yes, that's what happens there. We could feel it when we visited. So
thank you so much, B.
Well, thank you, Jolene. We really appreciate your presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I actually was out there yesterday, and they had some artists at work, and their artwork was fabulous. I was so excited to see that. I might go back on Friday just for the ice cream.
Come in the afternoon. But Rosemary, you missed the excitement yesterday. You know how windy it was? For anyone that's familiar with where we are, Alberto Tacos is right on the corner of 85-87. And they have a sign like 100 feet up in the air.
Right.
And that sign that is glass and plastic and metal flew off, wrapped around our power cords for the thrift store, cut our power. We had fire departments, electric companies, and cute firemen, which usually brings the ladies out of the building to, some of them try and flirt. It's really fun, but it was too windy. So they all just stayed inside and played cards. Oh no, you guys don't understand. Like if somebody goes down at the senior center, I'd say like once a month, we call the fire department to take someone to the hospital. Like they fall or they're having a medical issue. If those firemen are cute, those ladies stop playing cards, and it is like just zoom in, and you've never seen ladies flirt. And these firemen turn bright red. They don't know what to say. It's like their grandma telling them they're cute. One of my seniors, she pinches their tushies, and I have to tell them to keep their hands to themselves. Like those poor firefighters it's like, it is hilarious to watch. I love it.
That's
well,
so
thank
funny.
you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jolene, for your interesting stories.
They
Thanks
have
so
fun.
much. Sorry, we have to move on to
That's okay,
less
thank you.
exciting business. Let's see, the next item on our agenda is our membership committee. Do we have a report? Rosemary?
No, I just wanted to, first of all, I missed last month. I was in Denver. It took me 3 hours to get there in that nice winter storm. But I wanted to make sure that I welcome Debbie and Maria Elena to the committee. And just to let you know that we have sent out, we did send out 6 cards last month to committee members. And I think that's about it. That's all we have going on. So thank you.
Just want to echo that, welcoming our new members, Debbie and Maria. We're so glad that you are with us, and we look forward to your contributions. I can see it already, you know, with your questions. You know, that's what happens when a new face comes in, you know, that you ask questions, and we all learn. We all learn when you ask those questions. So that's wonderful. And in terms of our members, yes, we have had there's been so much illness and other life events to our members. I just wishing you all well as you're recovering, and I'm glad to see some people back with us that have been out ill and etc. It's not been an easy year for people. Is Jen still here? I don't see her. No? Okay, then okay.
She's still on screen.
Well, Jen, if you have something for me, just let me know. Okay, then we're going to move on to my report. I'm just going to raise an issue with you, and maybe we can problem solve it either today or another day. One of our TRS meetings, a recent meeting, we were looking at, there were capital funds available. Funds available to buy new computers or maybe a van or some other equipment. And I asked Jody what I thought was a simple question. Why don't all our providers submit a proposal for those capital funds? Because coming from the university, I know that you always need to update something within your facility. And we, we got wonderful proposals and the funds were allocated, but I just came away with the question, why doesn't everybody submit? And he gave me 3 reasons that I thought our members should be aware of. One, he said that in order to request capital funds, you need matching funds. So that holds some of our providers back. Secondly, you need capacity. Let's say you want a new van. Well, now wait a second. You're going to have to hire a driver, perhaps, for that new van. And I'm just giving one example here. And you're going to have to put fuel in it and all those other things. So it's not just the van. You may not have the funds to keep that van in operation. And then thirdly, because the way the funding is structured through the Older Americans Act, you have to provide, the provider has to provide upfront dollars. So the provider has to have enough cash reserves to purchase the item and then be reimbursed. So those were 3 items that sort of prevented some of our providers from asking for funds. And so my question is how, and I think you can imagine our larger organizations, they can meet those requirements. They have the funds, but our smaller providers do not. And so I suppose my question is there some creative way to help those smaller providers meet these kinds of requirements? So I'm just going to throw that out to membership, to our members, and see if anyone has some ideas or can confirm, or maybe I've left out some other major issue that's preventing people. Jason, I thought our providers might be able to help us too. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, B, just so you know, there's one other piece that I don't think I heard you say, which was the time frame, which is another issue that even in a larger organization like Silver Key, the time frame to be able to spend down those dollars is very, very, very critical. And the reason why is because it's not only the match for receiving those dollars, it's also our match overall to keep those federal dollars and state dollars in the community. So I know that there's been some challenges in the past where we have had commitments to be able to spend those dollars, but they have not been able to translate to what was needed fast enough to remain in the community's time frame. And so I just want to put that out there as well, because as the other pieces, yeah, maybe our larger agencies are able to do, but that time frame issue is, and even more now with supply challenges and things like that, it's a real issue unless there's some large contracts that some of the providers have that they can do some more turnkey kind of opportunity to bring that resource to that organization. So just one other concept to put out there.
Great, thank you.
You know, B, I wanted to kind of relay also that this is something we see even within the government sector on a regular basis as well. You know, we have a contract that we just actually started this week at DHS, where we're helping individuals that are working through the Social Security disability process, and we're kind of partnering with them to help them work through that process. We all know the Social Security Administration is a massive organization, is extremely challenging to work through, and we're you know, as a kind of state, we've said, well, and as a nation, we've said, well, if you're disabled, you need to go through this process, and then potentially you'll be eligible for disability income, right? But you're disabled, like that's kind of the bottom line, and we expect you to be able to go through this process that's extremely challenging and difficult for even those that aren't.
Mm-hmm.
We have a new structure in place where we're going to be helping individuals in El Paso County kind of work through that process, and in the hopes that we'll get them approved faster. At the state level, the funding came through from the federal government, and we knew that the contract was coming as of like July, August last year. And we just got our contract a couple months ago. And so by the time we hire staff and we get people on board, as of this past Monday, the federal fiscal year ends. And so now we're starting essentially from scratch. We only have a few months to spend that resource, kind of going what Jason was just saying, is it is a very challenging system. And when you talk about match and you talk about, you know, needing to have liquid asset to be able to purchase potentially before you can get reimbursed, and you know, the government often operates through grants and things on a reimbursement basis. And so it's not like, here's the money, do what you want. It's spend the money, tell us how much you spent, and then we'll reimburse you for it, which requires a lot of upfront resources to organizations oftentimes that don't. And the larger the amount, the larger the match. And so even for bigger organizations, it can still be a challenge, because if you're getting $2 million, that may mean you need $200,000 cash somewhere to be able to upfront the cost of some of that stuff. And even for larger organizations, that can be challenging. And
Right.
it is definitely it's definitely a conundrum sometimes. And I think that, you know, there are, the key really comes to creative ways to create those matches, and or to, you know, have resources that can be allocated potentially to kind of cover multiple things when it's available. So you're spending your most valuable dollars last, and the ones that, you know, you have more of first whenever possible. And it's a bit of a puzzle sometimes.
It sounds like it. Others.
So this is Melissa. What I do with the smaller providers that we work with is I always remind them to be members with the nonprofit association. You know, yes, you know, our AAA, we try and are thinking about, you know, opportunities to make things easier for all the providers that contract with us, but it's a challenge. And so really that nonprofit association is such an excellent resource for some of our smaller groups to be able to tap into additional funding resources, to be able to tap into board management workshops and encourage their board in ways that they would have never thought or known. It also talks about different, you know, ways to raise money for your organization. So, you know, they can start to think outside of the box, use their board a little bit more in different ways. So that's one resource that, again, it takes time for that to pay off. But ultimately, if the smaller entities take advantage of that, they will definitely find more resources and tools to add to their, you know, funding pool. But I sure do wish that there were other alternatives for us. That reminds me, B, that part of why that question came up with Jody is because we do have additional funding opportunities coming through the AAA in the future. We're still seeing ARPA money and CARES Act money coming through. So those conversations are going to continue. So I'm glad you brought this up today.
Sure. I have another question. If a larger provider gets the capital funds and upgrades computers, is there a way to pass the outmoded equipment down to a smaller, less funded agency? Mary Kep was asking that question. Can anybody respond to that?
From Silver Key's perspective, we have been able to make arrangements for other nonprofits to have some of that equipment available. You know, the only challenge that we have is because we want to make sure that it has met the life of the original reason for the capital request, because we're committed to those dollars. We have to buy it, get it, and make sure it lasts through the life of what the funder expects for it to live, and then we can make that available. So as Eric pointed out, it's a puzzle piece on all these pieces when we talk about capital, but we certainly have made our equipment available to others in the past.
Wonderful. Good. Debbie, you had your hand up before.
I lost it.
And we're still not getting. Can you put your question in chat, Debbie? Yeah, I'm sorry, we just can't hear you today. Feel bad about that. Okay. Okay, well, I just, as I said, this process with the capital funds just made me ask a question. You know, I think back to the university, the end of the year funds. Heck, we were all standing in line, you know, everybody was standing in line to see if you could get a piece of that. So it just made me wonder what was blocking people from asking. And I think you've added some insight. And then I suppose the question is, you know, how do we help some of these, particularly I think the smaller organizations were not as well represented in those requests as I would have liked to have seen. Okay. Then in terms of calendar, well, no, let me ask first, are there any members that would like to bring up a discussion item? Seeing none. Jason is asked to tell us about some funding that has come his organization's way. Go ahead, Jason.
Sure. I just want to update everybody, and so many members of the RAC have been very supportive of our apartment initiative here at Silver Key. And I'm thrilled to report, while we don't have the full dollars yet for the entire project, we did get approved for 13 of the units to be VASH funded, which is a veteran administration supported housing. So we've got 13 units where a commitment of dollars have come into play. We also have a commitment of El Pomar to be able to support the initiative in some funding there. So what that means is that we are moving into the last major hurdle, which is the low-income housing tax credit application at the state level, which is where the additional 33 units that we get approved. Unfortunately, the good news is this is huge. The fact that we've got 13 units approved for VASH, that was a big win for this community. It moves our application higher in competition of what's happening for other systems across the state. And then also, because we accept Medicaid to be able to support individuals to remain housed, that's another key piece that moves us forward. And we're the only applicant that has a full range and continuum of services, not only with what we have available but through our partnership with all the other providers through the AAA system. So all of that has been a very solid application. So with the commitment of 13 approved, that moves our application very high. So I'm really hopeful that we get to the last hurdle of procuring the low-income housing tax credits. In the event that that happens, what that means is that we will be able to start to make announcements about how we'll move forward with the groundbreaking, that type of thing. Certainly everybody will be invited here. And in the event that we don't get that, which I'll be very disappointed, I think with that, I just want you to know that because of this win here, this gives us the energy and momentum to be able to start to think about maybe a different avenue in the event we're not approved. But I do think we're highly competitive now. And just so you know, both the LPMAR dollars and the VASH dollars, are the Veteran Approved Supported Housing, are contingent on becoming approved for the Colorado Low-Income Housing Tax Credits. So all three of those funding come together. And if we don't get that big one, then these two do not follow that path. But it gives us the intention that we've got that commitment from these two, and that we'll be able to problem solve going forward, depending on how things go with our application. So again, thanks to everybody who supported. I know that a few people in this meeting have actually written letters of support. We've received some personal donations to be able to help with this. And I just want all of you to know how much I appreciate and how much this community is going to benefit once we get this done. So thank you, B, for a few minutes to update everybody.
Thanks for sharing that. You know how much I am behind this project, and I always think housing is the first step. Then you can handle other things, but if housing is the first step for our seniors.
Thanks, for sure. Thank you, B.
Mhm. Okay, are there any other events? Melissa, you said you had some events?
So I have a couple of things that I'm hoping to share, and I don't want Jason to go away either, because I want him to share a few more things too. And, Teller Senior Coalition is on. And so I'm hoping if Teller is doing anything interesting in the next 2 or 3 months that Diana would share as well. So first I wanted to bring up that, through some of our RAC members, we've been working hard on this Heritage Food Box project to get, culturally relevant food out to older adults who are in underrepresented populations. And we partnered last month with Leadership Pikes Peak's Women's Community Leadership Initiative to help us with that project. And we're focusing on doing 50 boxes to each group, 50 boxes to Asian older adults, Latino, and African American. And we are hoping to actually do that food box distribution in May as part of Older Americans Month. So stay tuned for all of that. And, we're looking forward to how that's going to unfold and all the wonderful people we're going to meet as a result of doing that. With the Women's Community Leadership Initiative, we have some really unique and wonderful women who have joined this effort and know quite a few people in the community to help do some outreach. So it's really positive there. And then I wanted to mention that we are kicking off the Ent Retirement Series in April. And some of you are real familiar with that. For those who are not, we have been partnering with Ent for quite a few years. I want to say at least 5 years to do a retirement series. And we were focused on doing four presentations. We have expanded that to 5. And so it's really focused on people who are still working and, getting them to think about what it means to retire and kind of working through, being financially prepared, being aware of what Social Security and Medicare are all about, thinking about being relevant in your retirement years. What does that mean? Just kind of all that planning that goes into it. So it's a really neat program. It is all online. We did do it in person in past years, but now it's all webinar based, but it is live. And so I'll send out the flyer for that. But again, it's kicking off in April. And I think that's all I wanted to share. And then I did want to, again, open it up to Teller Senior Coalition if they have anything. And then also just to remind Jason to share about their event coming up in June.
Diana from Teller County. Do you have any events coming up?
Hi, this is Diana. I just wanted to mention that we, and I think everybody's aware that we moved our office to Divide. And we are planning an open house and a ribbon cutting in the near future, but I don't have specific dates on that. But all of you guys will definitely be invited, and we love for you to see our new offices. And that's mainly what I wanted to include, B. Thank you.
Sure enough. Thank you, Diana. Anyone else have a event coming up? Maria?
I just had a quick question for Diana. Are there spaces for people to meet at the Teller Senior Coalition? If I needed to meet with one of our consumers, would that be a possibility to meet there?
You know, we would make space. I'm just trying to think. It's amazing how you can move into a new location and have all these big plans and then realize you don't have enough space. But we would definitely be able to figure that out. So just give me a holler.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Rosemary.
Hi. So just to make sure that everybody knows they're invited to the Senior Resource Council general membership meeting. It is April 20th. And Silver Key is going to be there. We're going to have a housing panel. Steve Posey is going to be there, and he is the community development manager for the city of Colorado Springs. Nancy Hingen from the city council, and then Lee Patke from Gratio. And so having that senior housing panel, just kind of informing us what's happening in the community. And it's a good time to ask all those questions, those burning questions, and find out and see where we can support all these people in their efforts too. There's a lot happening around the city, around housing, and just making sure we're on top of that and understand what's going on. So, and it's Senior Resource Council, is that .org? I'm not sure. Yeah, .org. And so just go there to register. And this is an in-person event.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And B, with your permission, I would be able to share a little bit about what Melissa was referencing for our event.
Sure, Jason.
So I'm really excited to share with you that we have on June 15th will be a summit that we are moving forward with, inviting community members across truly the Tri-County area. So Bill, I'm sorry we don't necessarily have a way to be out there, but we'll have hopefully a way for you to link in if you're interested in some of the virtual option that we might have available during that time, and we can get those details out to you. But what it was is I put the link in the chat box there. But what it is that we were approached by a few people in the community who were concerned that some of the information that was available about senior services was kind of fragmented, and people were accessing different things for different ways. But the thought was, could we bring forward a one opportunity to really have a summit about what does it mean to, and I'm going to use this language, stand up for senior care. And the reason I say that is when we went to the mayor's report on the state of the city, one of the things that he had first asked is, and this was after kind of during the pandemic challenges, any healthcare system that has been available, provide supports, and working to be able to meet the needs of the community, please stand. And what I was surprised about is that many of our Silver Key staff stood up. And I think to myself, was the mayor talking to us, or were they talking to the hospital, or were they talking to physician? And so I stood up after the team did. And what really hit me in that moment is something that I've been saying for a long time here at Silver Key. We are part of the healthcare solution, just like every single provider around the group here is. And one of the things that I'm so incredibly frustrated about is that I believe that we, and not only us, the collective us, but also the faith community have been so much part of the solution to be able to reduce the cost for insurance, to reduce those longer term stay in long-term care, whether it's skilled or nursing care or assisted living, when in fact, when all of us are working proactively to help people stay independent with dignity in their own homes, we have to be compensated for the work that we do. And we are part of the healthcare solution. So I'm a little tired of nonprofits or faith community kind of standing back, and I didn't have the guts to stand up when the rest of my team did until they did, to think about that. But when you think about the Alzheimer's Association, we are talking about an organic change in the brain. That is part of a healthcare change that we need to know that without the Alzheimer's Association available, we would have people without information, which means it becomes expensive for insurance. It means that we have people unnecessarily going to skilled nursing care because they didn't get that caregiver support on the front end. Eventually that may make sense, but imagine if we outfit caregivers to be available for that longer term. So what we're doing is we're bringing forward on June 15th, Stand Up for Senior Care. And through this summit, we're inviting everybody. It's free of charge. Please register with that link there. You can stay the whole day or pieces and parts. We'll have different people that are going to be sharing what services we have, to include the AAA. Melissa, I did talk with Jody that we've got a space for you all day for the AAA to be able to be there. And I'm just thrilled about the opportunity to be able to bring a fragmented system of service together so that we can move this forward to better impact and serve many more people than each one of our systems can individually. So I'm hopeful and ambitious that it comes into be a great thing. And I also recognize that we have maybe opened up a little bit of a can of worms. We put this out there, and within 3 days, we had almost 110 registrants. And I'm like, whoa, this may be bigger than what we intended. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, Dee, thank you for allowing me to share a minute and get on the soapbox. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Jason. That sounds exciting. You're right. When you prevent something from happening, a lot of people don't recognize, your work, the fact that you've helped the caregivers in the home, you've helped the seniors, stay in their homes, etc. And a lot of people don't recognize that work being done. And this sounds fantastic. Joe?
Jason, are the medical folks involved in this as well? Coming to the summit actively?
Yeah, we do. We have insurers and we've got medical folks, the healthcare organizations from the hospitals. So we have a broad range of I'll say providers or medical folks there. So absolutely, they're part of this.
Formally from our big hospitals, our nursing case managers, as they're called, are they involved? Because that's the breakdown between the social and medical world. I'm just going to use it that way, or the community or the medical. So how do we do that we get the communication between these two big silos of care? That's the breakdown.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And just so you know, we do have representatives from the hospitals attending. I don't know that we have specifically those roles, but I will revisit with them to see if we can get those discharge planning roles.
We need their CEOs. We need the people who make the financial decisions, because until we can get that community funding together with the medical funding, it's always going to be a silo of medical care and social care. And what we're really talking about is human care.
I so agree with what you're saying. And I certainly know some of the people that you're talking about, but if there's others on the committee who would be able to partner with me to be able to open up those conversations specifically with those CEOs or the discharge planners, where you might have a little bit more connection than I do, I'd be glad to partner along, because we do need them there. I completely agree with what you've said. Thank you.
Absolutely. Everything we do will come to a full stop unless we can get this communication bridge put together, communication, but also / funding, because that's where we're not in the same equal boat as the healthcare medical model dollars. So I don't know. I've been standing on this little boat for so long and waving a flag, and I can't tell you how excited I am. Maybe you hear it in my voice. I hope
I
so.
definitely
hope
do.
so.
And I'll tell you what, this soapbox is big enough for a lot of people, because I think that both that you've been waving that flag, that's a start. But what we need to do, candidly, in my mind, is we have to be able to make sure that the insurers are available, because even if we talk with the hospital system, that may be a solution there. But if we get upstream from that and we think about the insurers that are paying for that longer term care,
Absolutely.
it becomes a point of pain, and we can help to reduce that pain. But I'll tell you, I've worked with some of the insurances, and what they're telling me, we don't have a billing code for what you do at Silver Key. Well, I guarantee you, if they don't have a billing
Exactly.
code at Silver Key, they don't have it at the
Yes.
Alzheimer's Association. So we got to stop that and figure out differently. How do we get that conversation going? So thank you for that.
Certainly, anytime.
Jen, I see your head is shaking in a
Oh, yeah.
positive manner here.
Oh, yeah. We currently are holding primary care physicians accountable for inpatient readmissions. This is the first time that we have done that from Medicaid. We do not reimburse primary care physicians for transition of care. So think about that. We're expecting them to keep the patients out of the hospital, but we don't pay them for transition of care management. So there is a gap, and Medicaid does not reimburse for it. Medicare does. There is a gap.
Yes. And there are all kinds of hidden gaps that we don't even recognize, because we as a society are so used to thinking about care as a medical situation, health as or should I say illness? It's a medical world. And what we want to do is live outside of that medical world in our community where everyone wants to live. You don't see anybody in the medical world wanting to camp out in the hallways of the hospital or the nursing home. We like to live in our own homes.
Right. And we need
As
to
a
think of the whole
society.
person.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
I
great.
guess I'll just share real quickly, Jen, how much I appreciate your advocacy when we were running into this challenge, that you helped us think differently about how we would access some of the behavioral health services through the primary care funding of Medicaid. And that gave us the opportunity to launch a whole lot more support for individuals. So Jen, I know that this is something that's in your bailiwick. Thank you for all you've done to be able to help us move forward in care.
You're quite welcome. My pleasure.
Maria.
Jason, have you been able to share this information with the Teller County Mental Health Alliance? Because there are some RNs with UC Health, Mike Rodriguez is the head nurse who runs that program. And then there are a lot of behavioral health specialists who are part of that group. If you want, I go to those meetings, I can send them this information, but I didn't know if you had already talked to them.
No, I have not, but just so you know, I did meet with Ted from the Aspen Mind Center, and we are connecting with Jody to be able to figure out how we would be able to bring some of this information to the community. And then going back to what B said, how do we draw down maybe some of these dollars that are available more immediately to address access issues? So that'd be great if you make those connections. And just so you know, Ted and I are going to be connecting with Jody so that we can bring that through the Mental Health Alliance, and then also with that larger community that's trying to solve so many issues out in the rural areas.
Awesome, cool. Just wanted to put that out there too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for this very important discussion. And I'm sure you're going to see some of us at that summit. It sounds exciting. Okay, just a reminder, our next meeting is April 28th. And for those of you who are brave, we'd love to see you back in person again. The conversations that take place before and after our meetings are always so important. And so I'm hoping you'll start to think about coming in person. And I'm hope we'll also start thinking about taking our meetings out to our communities as well. And then our RAC Executive Committee meeting, that's the first Wednesdays at 1 p.m. And that's our officers and our chairs of our subcommittees are invited to that meeting. Well, thank you again for a great meeting. I see more energy in the room here. The last couple meetings, I think as we're feeling safer about COVID. There's just more things are happening, so I'm excited about that. And so I look forward to seeing you again next month. So thank you. Oh, I guess we need it. No, we don't need a motion to adjourn. As chair, I'm able to just adjourn the meeting. See
Thank you, B.
Jody always tells me that. She says, you don't need a motion. Okay. So thanks again. We'll see you next month. Bye now.
Bye.